So as I'm sure you guys already know, Donald Trump is in some pretty huge trouble right now. He just got raided by the Federal Bureau of Investigation yesterday, as it is detailing to his removal of documents required by the National, I think, Presidential Records Act. And I guess they found out that he actually had some classified documents, so they had enough evidence for to get a search warrant, and they went in and they seized the documents. But also, there's the January 6th committee that's going on that's investigating him. And then you also have the one going on in Georgia right now. I believe it's the Fulton County DA. It's Fannie Willis. I'm not sure if it's Fulton, though it might be a different county. And that, in terms of his, that's an investigation going on into his attempts to get Brad Raffensperger to, quote, find the votes to win. And then I didn't even really know about the situation with the classified documents. I didn't even really know that all that was honestly even going on. So that's, that's four situations right there, right? Or that's three situations, but there's actually more. So there's multiple situations going on. It looks like it's getting even worse for him. Check this out. It says Trump real estate appraiser hands over thousands of documents to NYAG in civil probe. So I wasn't too keen on this going on either, but Letitia James, the Attorney General in the state of New York, has been running an investigation into potential civil, law breaking on the part of President Donald Trump in terms of just like lying and fraud about his financial investments. But it's going to get even more interesting after I explain this to you. So there's a commercial real estate firm held in contempt of court for failing to hand over records on its appraisals of several Trump Organization properties to New York's Attorney General. Turned over nearly 36,000 documents, court filings show. New York Supreme Court Justice Arthur Engoron had found Cushman and Wakefield in contempt last month for not producing documents in State Attorney General Letitia James' civil probe into the Trump Organization's business practices, and ordered the firm to pay a $10,000 a day fine until it complied. In a letter to the judge late Friday, James's office said it has now, quote, received Cushman's production, which amounts to about 35,867 documents, since entry of this court's contempt order. The letter said the Attorney General's office was joining with Cushman in asking the judge to, quote, dissolve the contempt order and hold any contempt purged without any fines due or owing. So I guess that means that they don't actually have to pay the $10,000 a day fine. I guess that's just all wiped away. It says James's office considering whether to file a civil suit against former President Donald Trump and his company over their business practices, and has said in court filings that it has, quote, uncovered substantial evidence establishing numerous misrepresentations in Mr. Trump's financial statements provided to banks, insurers, and the Internal Revenue Service, that being the IRS, of course. Now, being held in contempt of court is obviously when you've received a subpoena, which is like a legal requirement to turn over documents or to appear in court, and you defy that. And so then you have, like, usually it's either can be like a grand jury or just a judge finding you in contempt of court, usually fined and, sometimes imprisoned, right? Like that happened to Chelsea Manning. So what you can see here is there's a fourth situation going on, a fourth investigation going on. This is a civil probe. This is not a criminal probe. So he's not directly in this facing potential criminal charges, but that's four investigations. Now, what you can see in here, obviously this would be really embarrassing for him and really bad if, like, important financial documents come out that come to light showing the truth about Donald Trump's true financial, assets and how much he's worth and all of that kind of stuff and different crimes that he's committed. So we've established there's four investigations going on right now, right? We got the January 6th investigation, which also has multiple things in it. There's the fake elector scheme. There's whether or not he incited the rioters, et cetera, et cetera. Then you've got the situation with the Georgia County, Fannie Willis, the district attorney who is investigating him for trying to influence the election illegally. Then you've got the FBI raid as it pertains to him stealing documents that is not legal for him to take. And then you've got this civil investigation going on to him in the state of New York over, his various, financial crimes and lies. But what if I were to tell you there's actually a fifth one? So here's what's really interesting. So this article here in the New York Times explains this as Donald J. Trump will soon face questioning from the New York State Attorney General's office. Donald J. Trump will face questioning under oath from the New York State Attorney General's office this week, a crucial turning point in a long-running civil investigation into the former president's business practices. It says the stakes for Mr. Trump are uncommonly high. While he has sat for numerous depositions over the years, he fought for months to avoid the testimony, which could shape the outcome of the investigation into the former president and his family real estate business, the Trump Organization. Since March 2019, the Attorney General Letitia James and her lawyers have scrutinized whether Mr. Trump and his company fraudulently inflated the value of his hotels, golf clubs, and other assets. Early this year, Ms. James said in a court filing that the company's business practices were fraudulent or misleading, but added that her office needed to question Mr. Trump and two of his adult children to determine who's responsible for that conduct. So it looks like it's going to be Trump, and I believe it's going to be Kushner and Ivanka, I believe, is who it's going to be. Actually, no, it's not going to be Kushner. It's going to be Donald Trump is what it's saying. It says deposition of Mr. Trump will follow similar questioning of Ivanka and Donald Trump Jr. in recent days. Represent the final stage of Ms. James' investigation with Mr. Trump, which Mr. Trump has dismissed as politically motivated witch hunt. But what if I were to tell you there was a fifth investigation? It says, because her investigation is civil, Ms. James can sue Mr. Trump but cannot file criminal charges. Still, the specter of criminal charges hangs over the deposition. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office had been conducting a parallel criminal investigation into inflated valuations of Mr. Trump's properties. Depending on Mr. Trump's answers to Ms. James's questions on Wednesday, his testimony could breathe new life into that investigation, which lost momentum earlier this year. If Mr. Trump stumbles or incriminates himself, Ms. James's office could alert the district attorney's office, which has said that it will closely monitor the interview. Ms. James's inquiry could wrap up sooner than those investigations. Rather than file a lawsuit that would take years to resolve, she could first pursue settlement and negotiations with the former president's lawyers to obtain a swifter financial payout. But if she ultimately sues Mr. Trump and if Ms. James prevails at a trial, a judge could impose steep financial penalties on Mr. Trump and restrict his business operations in New York. So, what this means is there's literally a fifth investigation that's going on to him that's kind of dead right now, and that's by the Manhattan District Office, and so they are also into criminal charges. This one with Letitia James, this is just civil charges, so it would just be fines. It wouldn't be criminal punishments. However, this civil investigation can lead to and help a fifth investigation into him, this one being a criminal one, that would be potentially, leading to criminal charges, right? But again, even if they don't result in those kinds of criminal things or anything like that, there's tons of important information for us to learn about him when it comes to his finances, what he's done. We can have more and more. The more evidence we can have of his direct fraud and lies and all that kind of stuff, the better, right? And it says appeals court says House can obtain Trump's taxes from the IRS. So he's been using it's called executive privilege. I don't even know where it comes from. It's definitely not in the Constitution, but it's just like when you're president, you can't seize my documents. Now he's no longer president. He can't plead executive privilege anymore, and so now they're able to obtain stuff. So hopefully, they'll be able to get his taxes too. And it just seems like everything is really coming down on Donald Trump. And so as much as I've said the walls are closing in on him and all this stuff, and I've described how bad it's getting for him, it's somehow actually significantly worse than I thought. He's really just getting hammered from every single side. So pretty crazy stuff to look out for.